Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Kayla Lindsay here with EXP out of Charlotte, North Carolina. If you are looking to send some referrals out to the Charlotte area, give me a call or shoot me a message at kayla@thetruelangegroup.com. Now today we're going to go ahead and talk about step 2 in making sure you save more of your money and don't give it to Uncle Sam. But before we get into it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit the little bell on the side so you get a notification every time that I drop a video. So let's get into it, shall we? How do you save more of your money and stop giving it away in taxes? Well, we reviewed in the last video, which I'll have a link below to, is how you can set up your finances so you're taxing yourself as an LLC, that's taxed as an S-Corp, that you are set up with your firm, the firm license, that you've set up your bank accounts, and you're paying yourself as an employee. So let's get into the other part of it. How to make sure when tax time rolls around that you're prepared. Well, honestly, it starts by preparing in the beginning of the year, not at the end of the year. I hear a lot of people right now scrambling to go get their taxes put together when really it should have been a null thought. It should have been something that was prepared a year in advance, that was already understood how that was going to work out. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? Step number 1, find yourself a phenomenal CPA. A lot of people have asked me, how do I do this? The first place I would say to start is reach out to those that you may follow on YouTube or online, or top producers in your region. They're going to be able to point you in the direction of a CPA they trust, but also a CPA that's used to doing big business with larger firms and larger agents. The reason for that? They've got more to lose. If you're an agent that is pulling in 6 figures a year consistently, you're going to want a CPA that's going to be able to give you the best tax advantages. So ask those agents around you for a referral. Step number 2. You're going to want to still interview those CPAs because you never know what you're walking into. Now, of course, if you are newer to this, if you've never had a CPA and you're just starting to talk about finances, especially as a newer agent, you might not know what to ask. I highly recommend asking some of these top questions. Question number 1, do you know and understand and utilize the Profit First bucket system? So we talked about in the last video about our buckets within our bank account, which is going to be our income, operating expense, executive compensation, your education, temporary profit, and temporary tax. The reason we want to talk about those with our CPA is because if they don't understand what you're talking about, nor are they interested in even thinking about doing your budgeting and your taxes that way, you may want to find a different CPA. It's becoming a more well-accepted way of making sure you're more profitable. And there's some phenomenal CPAs out there that already do this. So another question you might want to ask them is whether or not they'll be able to sit down and do a full walkthrough with you so you can understand where you are in your business and how you can get and reach your goals. A good CPA should be able to go ahead and take a look at last year's finances or even your goals for what your finances are going to be in the coming year, and give you recommendations as to how you should be spending, what they should be categorized as, etc. So that's going to help you reach your goal. Your CPA should be somebody that's on your team, a person you can lean on for any kind of not only tax, but spending questions. If you want to go ahead and buy a new computer, you need to understand what kind of tax advantages or disadvantages you may have. It's not going to keep you from spending on certain items, but if there are more advantages, you can let your CPA know in advance and they can go ahead and make sure you reap the benefit of that purchase. So you're also going to want to make sure you're asking that CPA what kind of tax advantages you can start implementing throughout the year. For example, there's something that I use that's called the corporate rent tax. And if you can ask your CPA about that, they can walk you right through it. It's something that a lot of businesses, especially entrepreneurs, will use and small businesses, and it'll help get you thousands of dollars perhaps throughout the year tax-free. Another thing you're going to want to talk to your CPA about once you've chosen to move forward with them is a good recommendation for a bookkeeper. Now, you may not quite be where you want a bookkeeper on a daily basis. However, I'm going to ask you something right now and answer honestly. Do you know what a P&L statement is? Some of you might know what it is, but now if you know what it is, show of hands, how many of you actually do one? I'm hearing crickets. You know why we don't do our P&L statement? And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a profit and loss statement. And the reason that we don't do it is because we're out selling real estate. It's what we do on a daily basis. When we start thinking about having to go into our books and do our finances, honestly, it's not the first thing that all of us want to raise our hands up to go ahead and do. And yet, it's something that it's extremely important to understand where your business is from a financial perspective. Otherwise, you're sailing a ship with no compass. You need to understand where your money is, how you're spending it, and where it's going. Because at the end of the year, especially a good year, you'll notice you have nothing to show for it, or very little. And that's because you're not paying attention to what's there. Now, don't feel bad. I was there too after my first year. I'd never done a P&L statement, but now it's something that happens regularly. And I do it with the help of a bookkeeper. Now, my CPA actually does my bookkeeping as well. Nice thing about that, many CPAs also do bookkeeping. Not only does it give them business throughout the year, not just tax time, but it's nice when your CPA is also your bookkeeper because they can talk together because they're the same person. Now, if the CPA recommends someone, many times it's because they already do business with them on a bookkeeping perspective. And they must have a good relationship, which allows them to very nicely talk to one another when it comes tax time, so they can start figuring out better tax advantages for you. So, step number 1, go ahead and start asking around about a CPA. Ask those that you follow on YouTube. Find someone who works for you. Number 2, go ahead and interview them. Ask them those very specific questions. Do you use the profit first banking method? Do you give me some tax advantage ideas at the beginning of the year? Do you help me strategize throughout the year and prior to the year to make sure that we're going in the right heading? And are you going to make sure that you hook me up with the right bookkeeper so I can go ahead and make sure I have my monthly P&L statements? You're a business owner. Remember that and act like it. Make sure you hire that CPA. If there's nothing else that you do, get yourself a CPA so you stop wasting money and stop giving too much money to the government. You work too hard for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this information. If you have any suggestions for CPAs or other people that you would use, such as a bookkeeper, go ahead and put it in the comments below. I'd love to help others, and I would love to find out what you do to make your business profitable. Remember to hit that little subscribe button and the bell next to it so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you again soon.